So today, we're going to dive into something pretty fascinating. How a single state, right in the heart of the Midwest, is quietly becoming absolutely essential to the future of America's national security.
Yeah, I know, that's a pretty bold statement, right? But stick with me, because the evidence is seriously compelling. We're talking about a huge shift here, and it's happening a long way from the usual defense hubs you might think of on the coasts.
Okay, so to really get what's going on in Indiana, first we have to zoom out a bit. We've got to look at the new kinds of pressures the U.S. is facing around the world, because believe me, the game has totally changed.
For decades, defense was all about stockpiling massive hardware. Tanks, aircraft carriers, that kind of thing. But today's world is completely different. We're now dealing with things like super fast, nimble drone warfare, a race to build hypersonic missiles that are almost impossible to defend against, and supply chains that are so fragile they could snap overnight. The old playbook, it just doesn't work anymore. This new reality needs a whole new approach, one that's way faster, more high-tech, and built a lot closer to home.
And that right there, that brings us back to Indiana. The state is really stepping up to the plate with a very specific, super strategic answer to all these modern problems. And it kicks off with one of their most ambitious plans to date.
I mean, you really can't get much clearer than that, can you? This isn't some vague idea. It's a direct quote from an executive order. It was signed by Governor Mike Braun, working with Senator Todd Young, and the goal is simple: achieve American drone dominance, with Indiana leading the way.
And let me tell you, they're not wasting a single second. This timeline just shows you how urgent this is. The order gets signed in October 2025. By January 2026, just a few months later, the state has already locked in a highly sought-after designation from the FAA to be a national drone test site. Then, the task force has a non-negotiable deadline: deliver the full strategic plan by July 2026. This is a flat-out sprint, not a marathon.
So you're probably asking yourself, how on earth can one state move this fast? Well, the thing is, this big new plan isn't being built out of thin air. It's being built on top of an incredibly powerful defense ecosystem that's been growing and getting stronger for decades.
Let's start with the absolute anchor of this whole thing: Naval Surface Warfare Center, Crane. Now, to put its size into perspective, this isn't just big for Indiana. It's the third largest naval installation in the world. It's a global center for really critical stuff like electronic warfare. That's basically using the electromagnetic spectrum as a weapon and developing advanced munitions.
And Crane isn't working in a vacuum, not by a long shot. As you can see here, the entire state is crisscrossed with these interconnected defense hubs. You've got the Indiana Uplands region, which is home to more than 100 defense companies, all focused on things like drones and hypersonics. The Defense Triangle links up major R&D and training centers. And up in the Northeast, there's a huge network of suppliers for the Department of Defense. It is a genuine, statewide machine.
And this isn't just talk about potential. This is about a proven track record of getting things done. Just take a look at the growth in the Defense Triangle. We're talking about a jump from $1.8 billion in contracts back in 2001 to over $4 billion by 2010. This area has been delivering for the country's defense for a long time.
So what does all this military speak actually mean for people in the state? Well, the numbers are pretty mind-blowing. The defense sector supports over 60,000 jobs, and it pumps $6.5 billion into the state's economy every single year. So yeah, this is about national security, but it's also about great jobs and a thriving economy.
But here's the thing: Indiana isn't just sitting back and coasting on its past success. Oh no, they are making massive investments right now to kick this growth into an even higher gear and really cement their spot as a defense leader.
It all starts with a huge injection of cash from the federal government. The Department of Defense has put up $75 million to build a brand new national security industrial hub right near Crane. Its whole purpose is to tackle munition shortages and strengthen our industrial base.
But this is what really shows you the momentum. The private sector is looking at that federal money and raising the stakes, pouring in over $600 million of their own. That's a textbook public-private partnership, with both government and industry betting big, and they're betting on Indiana.
And they're being really smart about attracting the best of the best. Indiana is offering real, tangible incentives, like a $5,000 bonus for skilled defense workers who relocate to the state. And for businesses, there are grants up to $50,000 to help them diversify and win new defense contracts. They're not just hoping people show up, they're actively building the workforce and the supply chain they need. Okay, so we've looked at the local money, the state's big plans, and the federal backing.
Now let's tie all these pieces together and look at the big picture. Why this doesn't just matter for Indiana, but why it matters for the entire country. So, what does this all really add up to? Well, it's so much more than just a state-level economic plan. What we're looking at is a brand new model for how America approaches its industrial and defense strategy.
You've probably heard that old phrase, the arsenal of democracy, right? It described the incredible industrial power that helped win World War II. Well, what we're seeing today in Indiana and the wider Midwest, it's like a 21st century reboot of that very idea. It's shifting from pure quantity to technological quality, from old-school assembly lines to networked research labs.
And this just shows you that Indiana isn't an island. It's actually part of a much bigger regional powerhouse. The Michiana region, which includes parts of Michigan, produces a staggering 60% of the U.S. Army's ground vehicles. I mean, Michigan's defense sector alone is a $31 billion industry. This is a team effort across the Midwest.
So when you boil it all down, this strategy has huge benefits for the whole country. It creates high-paying jobs here in America. It makes our national security stronger by making our supply chains tougher. It's breathing new life into U.S. manufacturing. And maybe most importantly, it's creating a powerful blueprint that other states can use to mix economic growth with a national purpose.
Which leaves us with this one last, really thought-provoking question. As warfare gets more and more high-tech, is the whole idea of the arsenal of democracy moving away from the factory floor and into the research park? What's happening in Indiana suggests it isn't just a move, but actually a fusion of the two, where cutting-edge research and advanced manufacturing are coming together to define the very future of defense.